to some of your constituents, Senator, about 15% of people earning under $35,000 stage 2 voter ID. With respect to some of the studies that have been discussed today concerning turnout in states that have implemented photo ID laws, I haven't seen the peer reviews of the Tennessee study that Representative Cox mentioned earlier, but I have with respect to the studies with respect to Georgia and Indiana, and they've been largely discredited for a variety of reasons by academics who suggest that those studies were not based on using proper correlations. You can't correlate a single incident of ID with turnout, particularly where in Georgia, for example, they were comparing the 2004 presidential elections to the 2008 presidential elections. In fact, I worked very closely in my litigation challenging voter ID laws across the country with experts who do study turnout, and there are a whole calculus of factors that go into affecting turnout, and that's one of the reasons why the Georgia and Indiana studies have been discredited. The other reason that they're not apt here is that the laws in Georgia and Indiana provide for much wider forms of identification to be used at the polls than Missouri's proposals do, and that's the heart of this issue. We're not talking here in Missouri about whether we should ask voters to identify themselves at the polls. We already do. The question is, how limited a range of forms of ID can we ask voters to present? But in Georgia and Indiana, the list is much longer and includes things like student identifications that would not be allowed under the Missouri proposals. The savings clauses here further are also more strict than in states like Indiana and Georgia, requiring people who don't have ID or who meet one of the exemptions in the legislation to cast a provisional ballot that would not be counted if the signature didn't match. For many of these most impacted communities, seniors, people with disabilities, those signatures won't match, and those ballots will not be counted. And they will also not be counted for the whole range of reasons that provisional ballots are not generally counted. It is inappropriate to render eligible voters, and Senator, you mentioned this, these are eligible voters. According to the Secretary of State's office, 220,000 eligible voters would be relegated to second-class citizens by being made to cast a ballot that might not count when they otherwise have identification that they can show at the polls and should be able to cast a regular ballot. Finally, I want to close with the bigger picture here, because the reason we have to consider this with a constitutional amendment is that House Bill 1073 as written is currently unconstitutional. And it is mind-boggling to me that we continue to debate and propose legislation that we know is inconsistent with the provisions of our Constitution that guarantee the right to vote. That puts us on the wrong side of history. We don't amend our Constitution to take rights away. Now, you want to know the last time that we did this wholesale as a country? In the post-Reconstruction era, when 10 years after the Civil War, the South in particular saw huge increases in voting by people who were now eligible to cast ballots. And many states then began practices of amending their Constitution to enshrine regulations and restrictions on who gets to cast a ballot and how. Here's just one example. And I'll leave you with this. In Louisiana, in 1896, 130,000 African Americans were registered to vote on the voter rolls. Pretty incredible number, given that the Civil War just ended in 1865. In 1898, they amended their Constitution to enshrine several restrictions on voter registration process in that state. By 1900, fewer than 5,000 remained on the rolls. And by 1910, that number was down to 730. And it took until Congress passed the Voting Rights Act in 1965 to ameliorate the effects of that constitutional change. This is a dangerous road we're going down, and history is not going to view us favorably if we go down this road. Thank you very much. I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Any questions for this witness? Thank you. Anyone else testify against?
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, distinguished members of the committee. My name is Charles Bowles. I'm a senior at St. Louis University, and I testify before Missouri. She loved Senator Cross's bill. I'm going to make my point very simple. I am one of the students that is going to be affected by this bill. I'm originally from Kentucky, and I go to school at St. Louis University. I have been an active part of St. Louis University community, and I very much enjoy St. Louis University, and I love this state, and I love being here today. I just want to give you some stats and figures. Over 61% of St. Louis University students are out of state. Over 5,000 undergraduates are out of state residents. We live here 8 out of 9 months out of the year. We're affected by legislation that comes out of this House and the Senate. We have, we contribute to the state. We contribute room and board and tuition to some of the state's biggest employers. And some of us are going to stay here after we graduate. I, myself included, I want to stay here after I graduate. This is, the state's providing a lot of great opportunities, and I hope we can do so. So in conclusion, I'm just simply asking that, these voter ID bills, that people vote against these bills and ensure that I have my voice heard in this next election cycle. I've had it heard before, but I'm not going to be surprised again.
So today, you're registered where?
I'm registered in the state of Missouri.
Okay. Do you still carry a license from the state of Kentucky? Is that your problem?
I have a student ID, which currently.
Where's your driver's license?
My driver's license is from the state of Kentucky, but I have the St. Louis Board of Elections told me in 2012 if I simply showed a student ID that I could vote in the state of Missouri. And like I said, I would be disparately impacted by these bills.
But you're still considered a resident of Kentucky today?
Technically, I'm not moved to Missouri, sir.
But technically, you're still a resident of
Technically, I'm
Kentucky.
still a resident of Kentucky, but not for much longer. I will be a resident of Missouri very, very soon.
Any other questions from anyone? Yes?
So let me get this straight. You just said you're a resident of Kentucky.
I go to school here in Missouri. I'm here 8 out of 9 months out of the year.
So your residency, where is your residency?
Currently, my school residency is in St. Louis University.
Okay, you don't have one residency. You can live, like I live in Jefferson City during the week, but my home of record is Lee Summit. Okay, so you either live in Kentucky and you're going to school here, and that's your resident, or you're a resident of Missouri. I'm just asking you, are you a resident of Kentucky or Missouri?
Like I said, I spent 8 out of 9 months here.
Where do you claim residency? Where do you say your residence is?
Currently, it is in Kentucky, but I'm in.
Okay, so if you are a Kentucky resident and voting in Missouri, that is voter fraud. So if you're a resident of Kentucky and you're voting in Missouri, you're committing voter fraud.
But the St. Louis Board of Elections said that I can, as long as I show my student ID, which.
Okay, if that's the case, if Missouri is your state of residence, you're in violation of the law, because in 30 days you're supposed to get a state ID if you're driving. So you're either violating one of the two laws. Just to point that out. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Any other questions from the witness? Thank you. Did you bring a witness form? Thank you. Next.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, happy Monday. My name is Crystal Williams. I'm here representing the American Civil Liberties Union of Missouri. And I really wasn't going to have anything else to add because I think everything's been covered. However, I did want to address the exchange that just took place because, I think that the senator had valid question. But in fact, just because you hold a driver's license in another state does not automatically mean that you have residency. Under our laws right now, if he resides in the state of Missouri, and is registered in the state of Missouri, he's allowed to vote here. He can't be registered in Kentucky and registered in the state of Missouri. So I think that's the differentiation. And when we sit down and we actually register to vote, and we sign that we're a resident, that's us, that's voter registration. So I would not.
I guess I gotta ask though, how would we know that he was not registered? Is it possible? And I'm not saying this young man did.
I understand.
I'm just saying, is it possible that a student from Kentucky or wherever could come here, register to vote here, and vote in both places?
I think everything's a possibility.
Wouldn't that be very easy to do, actually? Because he actually is registered and a resident there.
Well, I think frankly, I think we have good election state of Missouri, and I'm not a clerk. I know that we've had people up here that have been clerks today, but it's just like as the senator said also, though, he's in Jefferson City a good part of the year, and he lives in Kansas City. Nothing precludes, I mean, how do we know that he's not going to register to vote in Jefferson City rather than Kansas City? I think you can make that argument regardless of whether it's people coming from different states or people coming. And I think that actually Senator Krause brought out, he said that's voter registration fraud. And I think most of the time what we've seen has been voter registration fraud. It's not been voter impersonation fraud. And these bills that we're talking about today they have to do with voter impersonation fraud, which nobody can really give us clear data that that's actually been found to happen. I mean, unless you show up to vote one day and somebody signed on your line. And I haven't heard of any news stories or anything of that nature as long as I've been voting. I mean, maybe it's happened, but I don't have to agree with it.
Questions? Yes.
My point of clarification here is, he was either, if he's registered to vote, or I mean, if he's a resident of Missouri, he's got 30 days to get a Missouri driver's license. He's either violating that law, or he's violating, he's voting as non-resident. So I was just pointing out that you can't have it both ways. You can't be a registered voter here and have a driver's license from another state past 30 days. You're not
Some people have to answer to that, but I mean, I hear people back in the background when I was sitting back there saying that that's not, that some people may not think that that's completely accurate, but Senator, I'm not.
That's my understanding, and I'll go back and verify that.
Okay.
That's my understanding.
Well, and I understand that. Mr. Chairman, I also just wanted to let you all know, Autophagian with NAA wasn't able to be here today because his daughter broke her arm. So he asked me if I would bring his sheets in opposition and drop them off if you would allow me.
Appreciate that.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Anyone else to testify against House Bill 1073 and HJR 47?
Afternoon, Chairman, members of the Senate Committee. I just speaking to the record as opposed on the voices like another local organization who represent tens of thousands of low-income working poor folks, many that we believe don't have IDs that live in the metro cities that would be impacted by this.
Okay, thank you. Any questions for this witness? Thank you. Anyone else to testify against? Seeing none, anyone to testify for informational purposes only? On House Bill 1073, House Committee Substitute for HJR 47, seeing none, that closes the hearing. Mr. Vice Chair, I think I'm up next. Chair. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. For the record, Senator Watson, representing the people of the 20th Senate District, to introduce Senate Bill 853. This bill, as I understand it, has basically been asked for from WashU and possibly some other universities. Missouri University, I believe, do have a letter from them. It really is talking about a new accrediting body. If I'm understanding it, there are students supposedly at Washington University who has an interest in this new accrediting body as far as getting jobs out there around the nation. The information I have says that USC, Northwestern University, University of Illinois, Harvard, University of Arizona, University of Kentucky, UCLA, Arizona State University, University of Iowa, University of Pennsylvania, Berkeley, and University of Virginia have all gone to this new accrediting. As I understand it, does not get rid of the old Accrediting Association. It just has now adds another. I guess I'm going to put it out there and see what people think of it. Students and the university have a interest in it, and so I have agreed to introduce it and see what comes of it. And that's basically, I have some witnesses, but that's what I know about it, and I'll be glad to answer questions I can, or I will call my witnesses.
Questions for Senator Wilson? Seeing none, go ahead and call your first witness, Senator.
I believe, well, yeah, come forward. How are you?
My name is Tom Olton. I'm a professor of psychology and director of clinical training at WashU in St. Louis. And I want to thank you for the opportunity to talk to you. And I want to thank Senator Lawson for sponsoring the bill. I'll just repeat very briefly what Senator Lawson said. There is a new accreditation system that was begun in 2007 for accrediting clinical psychology programs. And it is now recognized by the Commission on Higher Education, which is CHIA, which is the same accrediting body that recognizes the American Psychological Association's accredited system. And there are now 21 programs that have been accredited by PCSAS, and that pattern is developing. There's 3 more that are under review right now, 3 more to apply. We'll provide you with some data maps that show you how this is likely to develop, but it's, it will gradually be represented in a number of universities around the country. Back in December, I met with members of the State Committee on Psychology at their meeting, and we had a very interesting, useful discussion. And their position, I think, the way I would represent it is to say that they recognize that PCSAS is a new system, and that they recognize that it requires a change in the law in Missouri. So now the law in Missouri says that in order to sit for licensure, a student has to come from an APA accredited program. And this requires simply changing the law to say APA or PCSAS to reflect the new development. And their position was that they wouldn't take a position. I think that's not up to them to fight the bill and that they would oppose it. So neutral. This program does represent it's a kind of accreditation that allows programs somewhat more flexibility in the kind of training that they're doing. It's a form of accreditation that's somewhat more appealing to programs that are more research-oriented, or that are training people for careers that are focused more on developing programs, disseminating empirically supported treatments, or delivering services that are empirically supported. And I think simply what I would say, I'll be happy to answer any questions. I would say the reason to make this small change in our licensing statute is simply to sort of recognize the current state of the system nationwide. And also for the students in the programs, that is, students are looking for a variety of training programs, and this is something that allows students to have more flexibility. And I think it's also good for the state, in the sense that it means that not just universities, but our mental health facilities will be able to hire professionals who've been trained either here at WashU or Mizzou or from other states. So currently, there are one reason that we're sort of moving ahead with this here in Missouri is that Mizzou and WashU are both programs that are accredited by PCSAS. In Illinois, it's Northwestern and University of Illinois. I will also give you, separately, we'll leave with you letters from their 5 university-based doctoral programs in Missouri. Mizzou and WashU are accredited by PCSAS already. UMSL and UMKC and SLU are not, but they have all given us letters, even from the chairs of the psychology department, saying that they think it's a good change, and that although they don't plan to seek this kind of accreditation, they think it's good for psychology in Missouri. but happy to answer questions.
Senator Sager?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This wouldn't affect undergraduate programs, would it?
It does not.
Okay, so this would be more for a master's degree or a PhD program.
PhD program.
PhD program. Is there a cost, a financial burden to the university to obtain this PC SAS accreditation?
The cost is approximately the same as what they pay now for the American Psychological Association's accreditation.
I'm just trying to figure out why a SLU and UMKC,
Oh, why wouldn't they?
why wouldn't they, or why aren't they? Do you have an answer for that?
I'm not sure. I mean, it'd be up to them to decide whether they want to pursue that. And I think the balance often comes down to deciding where you're trying to place your students, and what kind of career your students are planning to seek. But it's really up to, I mean, and what's likely to happen is that like right now, programs like at WashU, we have APA accreditation and PCSAS. And, down the road, some programs may decide to focus only on PCSAS or only on APA. But we're right sort of now in that position where we don't know what's going to happen. Speaking for us at WashU, we'll probably maintain both. And the extra cost is, I mean, compared to the cost of operating a full program, the cost is.
I'm just looking at, this might force other universities to obtain this accreditation, just to kind of keep up with the Joneses.
Possibly.
Okay, thank you.
Other questions to the witness? Seeing none, thank you. Anyone else like to speak in favor of the bill? Anyone here to speak against the bill? Please come forward.
Senator Watson, Mr. Chairman. My name is Mark Bradford, and I'm the president of the Missouri Psychological Association, and I'm here to speak respectfully against the bill. And I'd like to tell you why. There are 20-some odd programs or so out of the hundreds of programs in the United States that have PCSS. Listening to scope, going to scope and talking about it is not equal to scope approving it one way or the other. The doctor spoke about flexibility training being more research-oriented. That's part of the issue we have with it, because the American Psychological Association ensures a certain amount of practice training that the PCSES program does not recommend and not mandate. You said it's a small change. It's not a small change. It's actually quite a huge change. So let me say to you that I've had two letters that have been given to you to sort of outline some of our positions. One is from Dr. Kenneth Long in St. Louis, and one is from me as president. We had a meeting on this from the Missouri Psychological Association, the board met, and we discussed this last Saturday. And of the 8 psychologists there, 4 came from St. Louis, someone from Kansas City, and Missouri State, and we meet at the schools. Unanimously, they recommend against this proposal. And I'll tell you some of the reasons why. Let's be logical. They're asking us to add PCSAS as an accrediting body into the statute of law. And they say, we're not going to quit the APA accreditation as you made. The programs that currently have this standard, PCSAS, also have APA. They haven't dropped APA, they're continuing that. So if they're going to, so what you said is we're not going to quit APA, we're going to keep them side by side for a while. If there's no willingness to quit APA, then there's really no reason for the law change. No one is stopping them, these schools from affiliating with PCSAS as another accrediting or sanctioning or another approval, another organization you can belong to that's kind of gives you brownie points and feathers when you have students coming to your school. Secondly, APA is a huge organization. It has a long history of supervision. This program has a very short history. Now, perhaps PCSAS needs a few years of scientific monitoring before we know if they're valid. We recommend no law change. We think there needs to be more discussion of this by all the schools and by the psychologists. I really think the bottom line attention is here is to further study psychology and distance itself from the world of practice, because PCSAS is a scientific organization. It kind of doesn't like the APA practice model as much. All indications are, PCSDS is kind of a small, liberal, elitist scientific group. It doesn't like the mainstream APA psychology practice rules that not totally distance themselves, even less affiliated with mainline psychology and traditional mainline training and minimum practice supervision. So we respectfully recommend delaying more discussion about this. I'd like to also say this. PCSAS is currently credited by the Council of Higher Education, which is CHIA, while APA is COA, which basically does 50 states and licensing reciprocities. You can transfer licenses between states and Canada. They're represented by CHIA and also the Secretary of the U.S. Department of Education, which is USDE. Given that USDE recognition is linked to federal funding and sets a federal quality standard, most state licensure programs require the students to be in an accredited program that is accredited by a USDE recognized accrediting body. PCSDS is not recognized by USDE. So those are some of our arguments, some of our discussion, and that's what we're at.
Questions for the witness? Seeing none, thank you. Anyone else here to testify against Senate Bill 853? Seeing none, anyone for informational purposes only? Seeing none, that will close the hearing on Senate Bill 853 and we'll open up the hearing on Senate Bill 913. Senator Watson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Again, for the record, Jay Watson to introduce House Committee Substitute for House Bill 1218. This came up, there have been some problems over the last few years, particularly with condo associations versus banks repossessing the condo. Once the bank repossessed the condominium, there was a problem on the association fees. Who paid them? Were they to be paid? If there was an assessment during the time that the bank owned the condo, like a new roof had to be put on, do the neighbors get to pay for the bank's roof? And the bank not participate in it? There were several problems. I am frankly pretty pleased that all of the entities came together. The representatives of the condo associations, the representatives of the bankers, and I believe we have a bill that everybody has agreed to. We'll see when they all come up here and testify. But I believe everybody is happy at this point, and it feels like they've got out of it what each is protected. And I think we've got a pretty good bill put together. I'll stop at that. I'll let them explain the details. Be glad to answer any questions if you have. Otherwise, I think I do have a couple pretty witnesses.
Questions for Senator Watson? Seeing none, the first witness want to come forward.
Thank you, Craig Overfeld, Missouri Bankers Association. I want to thank Senator Watson for introducing this bill and having a hearing today. This is definitely a compromise bill that works out between us, the Bankers Association, and the Condo Owners Association, who you will hear about next. It took us quite a while to work this out, and it's kind of an important bill for both of our organizations. We want to continue financing for condos going forward. The current law is very confusing when there's a foreclosure, as the sponsor said, about who is responsible for what delinquent assessments. If you read the statute, nobody can figure it out, and you end up in court. And a recent court decision last year exposed the banks to the full amount of the special assessments. Those can be extremely high. So this is a real important bill for us, and in the process, we gave some ground on a few things that we wouldn't have otherwise. So with that, I would make any questions about the legislation.
Questions for the witness? Seeing none, thank you. Next.